How to hunt one of the most challenging times during the whitetail rut, the lockdown phase.
What do you do in the lockdown phase of the rut? I mean, do your tactics, your strategies change? How do you approach hunting the lockdown?
I think one of the best ways, especially as a guide that's worked in the past, is, it might sound crazy, but maybe put some boots on the ground and look for a hot doe. I've said it before, wherever there's a doe in heat, it's not generally just even one buck on her. Like, there's other satellite bucks circling that area. You may not kill the big boy, but there's going to be a lot of activity in a small area. Whenever we find a hot doe, boom, we take advantage of it. And actually, two of the biggest bucks we got last year was simply because of a hot doe out of the same stand. Guy killed the one in that stand in the evening. That was probably the dominant buck in the area. Next morning, guess what? There's another one on her. It's probably the second dominant buck in that area. I think that's really the biggest key to lockdown, is that's exactly what's going on. There's hot does in certain areas, and if you're not where that hot doe is, you're out of the action.
Get in all day and you really put in your time. Like, I mean, I don't think there's any secret to that, right? Like, I think what happens when we talk about the rut is we talk about all day sits and we talk about like really the grind and, like we want to sound as badass as possible. The truth is it's just time in the woods. And so you got to think about that. Okay. Like, what if 60% of the bucks are locked down right now at any given moment? Well, 40% of them are out there running around, and so I don't feel that much difference when I'm hunting most of the spots I hunt from like a November 2nd sit versus a November 15th sit, for example, or what, when they should be cruising, chasing versus when they should be locked down. Yeah, I'm never usually not like overrun with them anyway. So it's almost always just a matter of like, how many days can you put in on a funnel or a pinch point you really believe in and do that dark to dark stuff. And, if you believe in a spot and it's decent enough, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those days, somebody's coming through. As long as the conditions are working for you and the wind doesn't suck and you haven't burned it out. Like, I mean, there's obviously other variables, but it's like, sure, it's time and stand, man. And we talk a big game about it. A lot of people do, but it's tough. Really, it is really tough, but that's how you kill them. Like, that's, if you want to have that buck cruise through there, just be there when he goes through.
You tend to gravitate more towards pinch points and kind of travel or terrain features that are funneling movement during that time, or have you found yourself gravitating more towards, like, we'll call just deer bedding areas or doe bedding areas?
I'm all about pinch points and funnels.
Yep.
Yeah. I've done my rut strategy. Like, if there's a certain situation where I know there's does bedded there and I can get downwind, I might do it, but I'm almost guaranteed to be on some kind of terrain feature anyway. I like finding where deer have to walk and sitting there, like it just works. It works all season long and it works really well during the rut.
What about during that lockdown phase of, let's say, the 9th, 10, 11, 12, maybe it's different in every area in different pockets, but are you going and trying to find a big buck that's locked on a doe if you don't know of anything?
I have. So you can really break down November into about 3 segments. You got that first week, through the 7th or 8th or so, where the bucks are cruising looking for does hard. Then you got like the middle 2 weeks. Most mature bucks are going to spend most of that period locked down with a doe. It's going to be, if they're not, it's going to be a very brief period when they're between hot does. And that's the toughest period of the whole season to hunt, I think, because you don't know where that deer is going to be with that doe. I've actually got stands set in places that I don't hunt at any other time except during that lockdown phase. And what I've noticed is that these mature bucks have a tendency to run these does out into the same areas year after year. It might be a drainage ditch out in the middle of a farm field or a fence row out in the middle of nowhere. And it's a place where you would hardly ever see a deer. But during that lockdown phase, there's just a really good chance that a mature buck is going to have a doe out there. Now, your odds of being there on the same day that they are is not really good, but it's the best chance you got.
So if you had to just pick one tactic, how would you hunt, or how would you hunt the lockdown phase of the rut?
If I had to pick one tactic, I feel like I've still had really good luck hunting So like certain types of terrain can be like, for instance, I'm picturing like a river bottom terrain that I've hunted before. And the whole river bottom consists of doe bedding. But because it's a river bottom, it also creates like a natural funnel. So it's like you're hunting a bedding area, but you're hunting like a funnel within a bedding area. I've had really good luck in those types of areas during lockdown. And when I say river bottom, I'm not talking about like hill country river bottom. It's more like creek bottom with cottonwoods and red brush. And so it's thick, but you can see into it. Sitting in those funnels, I've had, just because it's lockdown, every day bucks are breaking off does and going to find the next one. So it can be a tedious few days. It can seem really slow, but you'll often get a big mature buck kind of cruising through those funnels looking for the next one. I wouldn't say often, but it happens enough, and I've killed enough where that's a very viable tactic. But my favorite is when I observe a buck and a doe and they're bedded down and they're off in the thicket or something, and you can actually see and visualize that. My favorite is to get down out of the tree and go after him. She's still aware and she's looking around, but he has all of his attention on her. And it creates a very unique opportunity where you can get in tight if you're savvy. And I don't necessarily go around looking for that, but I'm always aware and observing for that opportunity. And I've killed a few bucks like that too. I don't know if that really answered your question, but I think if I knew it was locked down, I'm probably going to get in some sort of substantial doe bedding area and try to get in some sort of terrain feature or something in the middle where it kind of funnels down. That's probably been the most effective for me, is getting in that. And I would probably gravitate towards those creek bottoms where it's a little bit open, where you can observe and you might catch that buck bedded with it, and then you can make a move.